when you do something and you also do it with such passion, like in the case of habits or addictions, it means that you get pleasure out of that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it, right? Why do you drink? Because it gives you pleasure. Why do you eat? It gives you pleasure. Why do you take drugs? Because it gives you pleasure. Yeah, but what happens after? How often has it happened to you to find yourself in a situation where you just couldn't take it anymore? Now, I'm talking about with people. Now, then I will also talk about situations which you have to handle in two different ways. For example, a marriage with your spouse, you got to a point where you have to swallow and swallow and swallow things that she says, things that she does. You don't do anything about it. Why? I don't want to get this thing worse. Or the same thing at work with your boss, with a colleague that really treats you badly, and you still put up with it, and you keep on swallowing. And perhaps your neighbor, very unpolite, who always has his music full blown, and you can't stand that. But you just don't want to get more trouble, more problems, so you put up with it until you get to a point where you just cannot anymore. You cannot put up with that anymore. And the damage that you may cause is irreparable. And if you had any reason, any good reason for that, and if you were right in feeling bad about certain things, you automatically become the butcher in that situation. So you have to do something about it. And by the way, just think about this. Why would you decide to continue to put up with these situations? To avoid conflicts, right? To avoid contrasts with people that you have to somehow deal with, whether at home or at work or anywhere else. Only to make things even worse doesn't make any sense. So you have to get control. And I'm not saying that you have to get back to control because you never had control. Because if you did have control, you would have never gotten to a situation where you just would blow off. Okay? You wouldn't have gotten there. So you have to get control. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, you do not have to be draconian. Okay? If somebody does something you don't like too much, okay, you're not going to say anything. Otherwise, people will think that you're intolerant. Then a second time happens, and okay, you just put up your shoulders and think, okay, I'll let it go this time too. Otherwise, people will think that I'm impatient. Not the third time. You're not going to let it go. You have to make things straight with that person, making her know how you feel about that. But you have to do it the right way because you see, what people do sometimes is they just go up to that person and they blame that person for the way we feel. So you don't go up to that person and say, look, this what you're doing right now is very annoying for me. It's very bad for me. I cannot stand it. So please stop doing that. Well, even if you're very polite and you say please, it's very invasive. You cannot tell people they cannot do something because it bothers you, because your Royal Highness is annoyed by that. It's not their problem, it's your problem. And it has to stay your problem. But at the same time, you have to, it's important that if you want to have good relationships with people, is that people know how you feel about something they say or do, especially in where relationships are very close, like in a marriage, for example. So you go up to the person very calmly and you tell them, look, I know it's not your problem, it's my problem. But some of the things that you say to me all the time or you do very often, they're very annoying for me because it really makes me feel bad. Or, can also can get deeper in expressing how you feel about that. You're not judging the person, you're just telling that person how you feel. Okay, so it's just about you, not about her. If you're enjoying what you're listening to, don't forget to click on the like button. And if you don't want to miss more videos like this that can contribute to your personal and professional growth, subscribe now to the channel. And you tell her, everything that he or she has to know. And you tell her, and then you finish off saying, so if you, just could limit it, either in quality or in quantity, you would do me a great favor. Now, if a person cares about you, first of all, that person will be grateful that you opened up to her, first of all, and most important. So that person knows you better. And she will, or he will, if that relationship is important for that person, he will try to stop doing what or to limit what he or she has been doing. Because if that was her or his habit, it's going to be very hard for him or her to just stop all at once. So you must expect that that person is going to have a hard time at the beginning. But if he or she cares about you, they will do it. They will do it for you. If they don't, if they just, you tell them, go to your neighbor, you say, please put the radio volume down, and he shrugs his shoulder and he says, no, I like loud music. And you just say, okay, if that's the way you want a relationship to be, that's fine. Just let to know how you feel about it. And you just leave. And you forget about that person. Here he or she comes for you to a favor. You know what? I can't. I have an appointment. Perhaps he or she understand that a community, because if you're whatever community, if you have neighbors, you have to deal with neighbors in a certain way. You have to be understanding about what their needs are too, not just yours. So that's one thing. That's about people. Now, what happens if the habit or the behavior that you have is something that you cannot stand anymore? For example, you're eating too much and you're getting sick. You're drinking too much. You use dope or even stronger drugs, or gambling. All sorts of habits that give you addiction, for example, all of them. And you get to a certain point where you just cannot take it anymore. You have to put a stop to it. Now, that's not a very easy thing to do, by the way, because when you do something and you also do it with such passion, like in the case of habits or addictions, it means that you get pleasure out of that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. Right? Why do you drink? Because it gives you pleasure. Why do you eat? It gives you pleasure. Why do you take drugs? Because it gives you pleasure. Yeah, but what happens after? You put up weight because you eat too much. You get sick because you drink too much, let alone addictions. If you're addicted to gambling, you get broke. So that's not very pleasurable. But the fact is that we want instant pleasure. The consequences, I'll deal with them when they come. It's not a problem now. Then the problem comes and you say, that's enough. It's not the best situation where to start doing something about it, because when you get to that point, it means that the pain that you're experiencing far outweighs the pleasure that you're getting out of it. So it means you're in deep trouble. That's what I mean. So you have to work on that. Now, if you have addictions, you cannot do this on your own. You have to go to a professional. Okay, you have to go to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, whatever, a consultant in these types of things. People who know what they're doing. You cannot do it on your own. But if they're not too serious, because, for example, you're a little fat, but there's this beautiful woman that you met at work that really turns you on, but you're ashamed to go up to her and ask her to go out, for example. So I can't stand my body anymore. That's good. That's good pain. So you're associating the eating with pain. You're starting doing the work. That's good because you're not associating eating with pleasure anymore. So what you do, you take every day 15 minutes, do some visualizations exercises where you get there. You can also put some soft music, low lights, and you just visualize all the bad things, all the consequences about that habit, about that behavior that you want to stop. And they have to be very colorful. They have to be very clear, these images, because the clearer they are, the shinier they are, the lighter they are, the more impact they will have in you. You have to feel bad about what you're doing. And it has to get to a point where that bad outweighs the pleasure, as I said before. So you do that. Now, when you feel bad enough about that, and you say, okay, I want to change this, now you revert things. You still do 15-minute visualization exercises every day, but this time on the pleasure you will have by changing habit. So, for example, taking the example of a man who sees this gorgeous woman that he would like to go up to and perhaps ask her out or something. Okay, just visualize that she'll say yes, that she'll be excited about saying yes to you. Or it can be something else. For example, you wanted to do sports and you want to run like you used to run when you were a teenager. And you want to have that same energy and that same passion again. Okay, so visualize yourself doing that. Or if you don't want to drink anymore because you want to feel healthy, how does that feel about being healthy, about stopping drinking? Feel about that. In what situation are you where you can fully express the pleasure that you have of being free from alcohol or cigarettes or gambling or whatever? So it's just a question of associating things to the right thing. So you associate bad habits to bad things, you associate good habits to good things. And things will start to change a little at a time. And also, if you put everything into practice and you start doing something physically, not just mentally, that will reinforce everything. That's how it works. That's what you can do. We do have control. We never had control when we just kept on putting up with things. That's not having control. Control is when you do something about it, something strong, something that is impactful in your life. And then your life will start to work a lot better. See you next time.